500 warships should have turned a farm into ash, yet they stopped because an old human fed one starving child. And if you think that makes sense, you're not paying attention. Where are you watching from? Subscribe to help this channel grow, and let's begin. Isaac Crow woke at 4 in the morning, same as he had for 15 years. The alarm was unnecessary. His body remembered grief better than any clock. He shuffled to the kitchen, boots scraping against worn floorboards, and poured black coffee into a chipped mug. No sugar, no cream, just bitter heat to match the taste of living. Outside, the Nebraska sky was still purple with pre-dawn darkness. He crossed the yard to the barn where old rusty 117 sat waiting, an ancient tractor that wheezed like an asthmatic dog but never quit. Some folks in Mill Creek called him crazy for talking to machinery. Isaac figured machinery was better company than people who looked at you like you were a memorial they couldn't quite read. "Morning, Rusty," he muttered, running a hand over the rust-spotted hood. "Got about 40 acres to check before the heat comes in." On the dashboard, secured with duct tape yellowed by sun, was a photograph. A young man in military uniform, grinning like the world made sense. Like wars ended clean and sons came home. Isaac looked away. The radio crackled to life as he turned the ignition. Static, then a classic rock station playing something about dust and wind. He let it play. The song felt appropriate. He spent the morning checking irrigation lines, his hands moving with the efficiency of routine. Corn grew tall this year. Good soil, good rain. None of it mattered much, but the work kept his hands busy and his mind mercifully blank. Around noon, he drove into town for supplies. The hardware store clerk nodded without speaking. The woman at the post office smiled sadly and handed him 3 pieces of junk mail. Everyone in Mill Creek treated him like fragile glass, which suited him fine. Broken things prefer distance. On the drive back, he noticed a dusty sedan parked near the town limit. Out-of-state plates. A woman with dark hair and a professional camera stood nearby, talking to Old Man Peterson. Isaac's jaw tightened. Reporters came through sometimes, looking for war stories. He never gave them any. By evening, the sky had turned the color of a bruise. Static electricity made his skin prickle. A storm was rolling in from the west, the kind that bent trees and made livestock nervous. Isaac secured the chicken coop and checked the barn doors. That's when he heard it. A scraping sound, rhythmic and desperate. Something was in the cellar entrance. His hand instinctively went to the hunting rifle by the door. Coyotes, probably, or a wounded deer. He grabbed a flashlight and approached carefully, boots crunching on gravel. The scraping stopped. Isaac aimed the flashlight into the shadows. 2 enormous eyes reflected back at him, dark and liquid. Not a coyote, not a deer. His blood went cold. Scales, silver-blue scales catching the light. A child-sized shape, trembling, covered in mud and something darker. Blood. Kareth. His finger moved to the trigger. 15 years of hate compressed into one simple motion. End it. End the thing that took his son. But then the creature made a sound. Not a hiss or a growl. A whimper. It raised one small hand. Not in defense, but in the universal gesture of a child reaching for help. Its mouth opened, trying to form words that wouldn't come. Nah. Isaac's hand shook. The rifle wavered. The creature's eyes were huge, terrified, and heartbreakingly young. Thunder rumbled overhead. Rain began to fall in heavy sheets. Isaac lowered the rifle. "Damn it," he whispered. He knelt slowly, extending one weathered hand. The creature flinched but didn't run. Up close, Isaac could see the injuries. Burns, cuts. This wasn't a soldier. This was a victim. "All right, kid," Isaac said quietly, his voice rough with disuse. "Come on. Ain't nobody starving under my roof. Not again." The small Kareth hesitated, then reached out with trembling fingers. Isaac scooped the creature up. It weighed almost nothing, all bones and fear. He carried it inside, leaving muddy tracks across the kitchen floor his wife used to keep spotless. He warmed milk on the stove, cut thick slices of honey wheat bread, found an old quilt that still smelled faintly of lavender. The creature ate desperately, making small, grateful sounds. When Isaac wrapped it in the quilt, it looked up at him with something like hope. "Get some sleep," Isaac said, settling into the chair nearby. "We'll figure this out in the morning." Outside, the storm intensified. Wind howled against the walls, and beneath the thunder, something else. A low vibration that wasn't quite thunder. Engines. Isaac's eyes snapped open. He looked at the small creature now sleeping fitfully in the corner. What had he done? The floor began to tremble. Isaac jerked awake to the sound of his own heartbeat. Dawn light filtered through the kitchen window, painting everything in shades of amber and doubt. The Kareth child was still there. Not a nightmare then. It lay curled in the quilt, one small hand clutching the fabric like a lifeline. In sleep, the alien features softened. Just a kid, scared and alone. Isaac rubbed his face, feeling every one of his 58 years. His body ached from sleeping upright in the chair. More than that, his conscience ached. What the hell was he thinking, bringing it inside? Them. Bringing one of them inside. The creature stirred, eyes fluttering open. When it saw Isaac, it scrambled backward, pressing against the wall. The quilt fell away, revealing the full extent of its injuries. Burns ran down its left side in parallel lines. Deliberate, precise. Someone had hurt this child on purpose. "Easy," Isaac said, raising his hand slowly. "You're safe here. I'm not going to hurt you." The creature watched him with those impossibly large eyes, cautious, waiting for violence that had clearly become familiar. Isaac moved slowly to the kitchen. His hands knew the routine: coffee, breakfast, normal things to anchor an abnormal morning. A memory hit him without warning. His son, maybe 6 years old, standing in this same kitchen asking for chocolate chip cookies before dinner. The way his voice went high and pleading. The way Isaac always said yes. He gripped the counter until his knuckles went white. When he turned back, the Kareth was watching him intently. It made a soft sound, somewhere between a question and an apology. "You hungry?" Isaac asked. The creature tilted its head, processing, then nodded, the gesture too human to be coincidental. Someone had taught it that. Isaac warmed more milk, slower this time, added a drizzle of honey, cut bread, and spread it with butter that melted into golden pools. He set the plate down a careful distance away and backed off. The Kareth crawled forward, sniffed the milk, and made a face that would have been comical under different circumstances. Its nose wrinkled, lips pulling back from small, sharp teeth. But hunger won. It drank anyway, grimacing with each swallow. Isaac's mouth twitched. Almost a smile. The first in longer than he could remember. "Not used to cow's milk, huh?" The creature paused, looked at him, and very deliberately nodded again. Then it reached for the bread, eating with more care this time, savoring. When it finished, it used one muddy finger to draw something on the floor. A symbol, circular, with radiating lines and 3 points arranged in a triangle. Isaac didn't recognize it, but something about the precision, the formality of it, made his stomach tighten. What's that supposed to mean? The Kareth touched the symbol, then touched its own chest. Then it reached out, very slowly, and touched Isaac's hand. Its voice came out broken and raw, like rusted machinery, trying to remember how to move. "Ma. Rin." The word meant nothing to Isaac, but the tone, the longing in it. Mama. This kid was calling for its mother. "Hell," Isaac muttered. He knelt down, ignoring his protesting knees. "Where is she? Your ma?" The creature's eyes filled with something that looked like tears, and though they caught the light strangely, it pointed upward, at the sky, at the stars. "She's out there somewhere," Isaac said quietly, "and you're down here." The Kareth made a sound like a sob. Then, exhausted, it leaned against Isaac's leg, small body shaking. Isaac froze. Every instinct screamed at him to pull away. This was the enemy. This was the thing that killed millions, destroyed colonies, took his son. But all he felt was the weight of a frightened child. His hand, moving without permission from his brain, settled gently on the creature's head. The scales were surprisingly warm, soft at the edges. "It's all right," he heard himself say. "You're safe now." The Kareth's breathing slowed, steadied. After a moment, it looked up at Isaac and very carefully placed one small hand over its own heart, then pointed at him. The message was clear. "Thank you." Isaac had to look away. His throat felt tight. Outside, the storm had passed. The morning was clear and bright. Birds sang in the oak tree by the fence. Everything looked normal. But in the distance, so faint he almost missed it, came a sound, a low thrumming that made the windows rattle in their frames. The Kareth heard it too. Its head snapped up, ears flattening against its skull. The thrumming grew louder. Isaac stood, moving to the window. His blood turned to ice. The eastern horizon was dark, not with clouds, with ships, hundreds of ships, hanging in the sky like a swarm of metal locusts, blotting out the sun. The child behind him whispered something in its own language, one word, repeated like a prayer or a plea. Isaac didn't need a translation. They had come for their lost prince, and they had brought an armada. The ground shook hard enough to rattle teeth. Isaac grabbed the doorframe as his coffee mug crashed to the floor, ceramic exploding into a dozen pieces. Through the window, he watched the impossible become real. 500 Kareth warships descended from orbit in perfect formation, their hulls catching the morning light like scales on some ancient dragon. The lead vessel was massive, easily 2 miles long, with wings that unfolded like ceremonial robes made of liquid metal. The Serenity Dawn, if the war-era intel briefings were accurate, the flagship of the Kareth Empress herself. Air raid sirens wailed from Lincoln 60 miles away, then from Kansas City, then from every military installation within 500 miles. The sound layer upon layer until it became a wall of panic. Isaac's hands moved on autopilot. He scooped up the Kareth child, feeling it tremble against his chest. The creature buried its face in his shirt, making small, frightened sounds. "It's okay," Isaac lied. "It's okay." Outside, his nearest neighbor, Raymond Beck, was already mobilizing. The ex-sergeant stood in his driveway with a hunting rifle, screaming at the sky. 3 other men joined him, all veterans, all armed. Beck spotted Isaac in the doorway and pointed. "Crow, get inside! They're here for blood!" But they weren't firing. The ships hung there, weapon systems dark, engines thrumming a resonance that felt like standing inside a heartbeat. Waiting, Isaac stepped onto his porch. The child clung tighter. A convoy of military vehicles roared down the rural highway, kicking up dust. Anti-aircraft batteries deployed in the soybean field across the road, their targeting systems whining as they locked onto the nearest vessels. One wrong move, one twitchy finger on either side, and the war would start again. Then, with a sound like tearing silk, the Serenity Dawn began to descend, directly toward Isaac's farm. Beck and his militia scattered, screaming. The military convoy swerved off the road. Even Isaac felt his legs go weak. The flagship settled into the cornfield with impossible grace, crushing maybe 40 acres of crop beneath landing struts the size of buildings. The displacement wind flattened everything else, turning Isaac's hat into a distant memory. For 10 seconds, nothing happened. Then a ramp extended. Steam hissed. And from the depths of that alien vessel, a figure emerged. She was over 7 feet tall, her scales the color of polished platinum. Ceremonial robes flowed around her like liquid starlight, and when she moved, it was with a precision that seemed choreographed by physics itself. Behind her, an honor guard of 12 Kareth warriors stood at attention, their expressions unreadable. The Empress. She walked toward Isaac's farmhouse, each step deliberate, measured. The ground cracked beneath her weight. Isaac should have run, should have grabbed his rifle, should have done anything except stand there holding a Kareth child in his arms. But something in the Empress's eyes stopped him cold. Desperation. The child in Isaac's arms made a sound, a cry, a word. "Marin!" The Empress stopped as if shot. Her composure cracked. For one moment, she was not an empress leading an armada. She was a mother who had lost her son. "Nerith," she breathed, the word translated by devices Isaac couldn't see. "My son." The child, Nerith, scrambled from Isaac's arms and ran. Not with fear, but with the desperate need every child has to reach their parent. The Empress dropped to her knees, robes pooling around her, and caught him, held him, made sounds that transcended language. Around them, soldiers on both sides waited, fingers on triggers, breathing suspended. Isaac found his voice. It came out rough, defiant, and utterly absurd given the circumstances. "If you're gonna shoot, shoot. Kid ate my bread. He's family now." Every eye turned to him, human and alien alike. The Empress stood slowly. Nerith still held close. She looked at Isaac, really looked at him, and something shifted in her expression. Then, with fluid grace, she bowed, deep and formal. Behind her, every Kareth soldier did the same. "He who feeds the heir to the golden throne," she said, voice carrying across the field, "feeds all my people. You have given back what was taken. You have shown mercy when hate would have been simpler." Beck pushed forward, rifle raised, face purple with rage. "That's a Kareth! They killed millions! They destroyed Titan Station! They killed my son too," Isaac interrupted. "Or so I thought. You know what I learned, Beck? That scared kids look the same no matter what they're covered in. And I wasn't gonna let another one die. Not in my house." A woman Isaac hadn't noticed stepped forward. Dark hair. Camera. The reporter from yesterday. Clara Ruiz, her press badge said. She was filming everything. "This is Clara Ruiz reporting live from Mill Creek, Nebraska," she said into her Ridley 79 recorder. "We are witnessing what might be first contact, second chance, or the last mistake humanity ever makes. A human farmer has returned the lost heir of the Kareth Empire, and 500 warships wait to see what happens next." The Empress stepped closer to Isaac. This close, he could see the exhaustion in her eyes, the weight of 30 years of war. "You could have killed him," she said quietly. "You had every reason." "Yeah," Isaac agreed. "I did." "Why didn't you?" Isaac looked at Nerith, who watched him with those huge, trusting eyes. "Because I'm tired of killing," he said simply, "and because he was hungry." The Empress regarded him for a long moment. Then she straightened, addressing both armies. "I declare a debt of honor. This human has shown courage beyond measure. He will be protected as if he were Kareth-born." A human colonel pushed through the military line, radio crackling with orders from command. "Ma'am, we need to secure the alien asset for diplomatic processing. Sir," he added, turning to Isaac, "you need to turn over the child. Now." Nerith made a sound of fear and clutched Isaac's leg. "He's not an asset," Isaac said. "He's a kid. He's the heir to an empire we've been at war with for 3 decades. He ate my soup and cried for his mama," Isaac shot back. "Whatever else he is, he's family now, and I don't give up family." The standoff crystallized. 2 armies, 2 species, and 1 old farmer standing in the middle, stubborn as bedrock. Nerith looked up at Isaac, then at his mother, then back again. He reached out with one small hand and took Isaac's fingers. With the other, he held his mother's, bridging the gap. The Empress's voice was soft. "He chooses both." "Lucky him," Isaac muttered. "Most of us don't get that option." Clara kept filming, and somewhere on 1,000 news networks across 100 worlds, people watched a farmer from Nebraska become the most important human in the galaxy. Because he fed a hungry child. By sunset, Isaac's farm had become the center of the known universe. Military tents ringed the property in concentric circles. Anti-aircraft batteries pointed skyward. Drone surveillance hummed overhead like mechanical mosquitoes. And through it all, the Kareth fleet hung motionless, waiting. Isaac sat on his porch, drinking coffee that had gone cold hours ago, watching his simple life become a diplomatic incident. Nereth sat beside him, legs dangling off the edge, eyes wide with confusion. The boy had refused to board the Empress's ship, clung to Isaac with surprising strength, and made it clear in the universal language of childhood terror that he wasn't leaving. The Empress had departed, but not far. Her ship remained in the cornfield, a monument to maternal anxiety and political complications. "Sir, we really need you to reconsider." The colonel had traded his aggressive posture for diplomatic exhaustion. "We're talking about galactic security here." "He's a boy, not a briefcase," Isaac replied for the 10th time. "He's the heir to—" "I know what he is. You've told me." Isaac set down his mug. "But right now he's scared, and I'm all he's got on this planet." "You've got 48 hours, the colonel said. "Then we move to protocols, whether you cooperate or not." After he left, Clara approached with her camera off. Professional distance replaced by something more human. "Can I ask you something, Mr. Crow? Off the record?" Isaac shrugged. "Why? Really? Why risk all this?" Isaac was quiet for a long moment. Then, "My boy loved strays. Dogs, cats, once a raccoon that bit him 3 times. Kid couldn't stand to see something hurting." He looked at Nereth. "Guess it runs in the family, even if the family's gone." Clara's expression softened. "I lost my brother in the war. Helion Station. I'm sorry." "So am I." She glanced at Nereth, who was attempting to communicate with one of Isaac's chickens. "But watching this, I'm starting to wonder if maybe we've all been sorry for too long." That night, Isaac made dinner. Nothing fancy. Scrambled eggs, toast, the last of the bacon from his freezer. Nereth approached the bacon like it was a scientific experiment. Sniffed it, poked it, then cautiously took a bite. His eyes went wide. He made a sound somewhere between surprise and joy, scales rippling in patterns Isaac was starting to recognize as laughter. "Good, huh?" Isaac smiled despite himself. Nereth devoured 3 more pieces, then looked at Isaac with pure adoration. He pointed to his heart, then at Isaac. A gesture he'd repeated often enough that Isaac was starting to understand. "Home," Nereth said, the word heavily accented but unmistakable. He pointed at Isaac. At the farmhouse, at the chair where Isaac had kept watch that first night. Home. Something in Isaac's chest cracked. Warm flooded through the cold place where he'd kept his grief frozen. "Yeah, kid," he said quietly. "I guess it is." Later, after Nereth had fallen asleep wrapped in the lavender quilt, Clara returned with documents. Her hands shook as she laid them on the kitchen table. "I've been digging into Helion, into the final battle." She looked up, face pale. "Mr. Crow, I found something. Something the military's been burying." Isaac's stomach clenched. "What?" "The attack that killed your son, the one attributed to Kareth bombardment." She pushed forward a declassified report, marked with redactions. "It wasn't them. It was us. Friendly fire. A targeting error covered up to maintain morale." The words hit like bullets. Isaac stared at the page, seeing the coordinates of where his son died, seeing the launch codes, seeing the truth written in bureaucratic language that made atrocity sound like policy. "You're saying—" "I'm saying we killed our own people," Clara whispered. "And blame them." Isaac's hands clenched into fists. 15 years of hatred. 15 years of poison. All built on a lie. He looked through the window at the Kareth flagship sitting in his ruined corn, at the soldiers who'd stayed this time not to kill, but to protect a child. "Beck needs to see this," he said finally. "Beck buried his brother at Helion too." Isaac stood. "He deserves the truth." Outside, emergency lights painted everything red and blue. The siege had begun, not with weapons, with revelation, and Isaac Crow, who had spent 15 years mourning the wrong enemy, felt the weight of that mistake settle onto shoulders already bent with grief. Nerith stirred in his sleep, murmuring in a language Isaac didn't understand. But one word stood out, a name. Isaac. But the boy was dreaming about him, calling him by name. Isaac closed his eyes and felt something he thought had died with his son, purpose. "You want him?" Isaac said to the empty room, to the armies outside, to the universe itself. "Come through me. I'm old, slow, and got nothing left to lose. That makes me the most dangerous thing on this farm." Outside, searchlights swept across the sky. Inside, a broken man and a lost child slept. And somewhere between the two armies, between hate and hope, a truth began to emerge. The war hadn't ended at Helion. It had just been waiting for someone stubborn enough to finish it. The deadline was 24 hours away. Isaac woke to find Nerith sitting in the kitchen window, drawing patterns in the condensation. The patterns formed shapes, ships, explosions, small figures running, memories. "Hey kid," Isaac said softly. "You okay?" Nerith turned, and Isaac saw tear tracks cutting through the scales on his face. The boy pointed at one drawing, a ship, then at another, smaller ships falling. "That what you remember, from Helion?" Nerith nodded. His small hand trembled as he drew more. Human ships, Kareth ships, all shooting, all dying. Then he drew something else. A figure. Tall, elegant. His mother. She'd been there, at Helion, when it all went wrong. Before Isaac could process that, a knock rattled the door. Not military, too hesitant. Mrs. Chen stood on the porch, a Tupperware container in her wrinkled hands. She was maybe 70, ran the Asian grocery in town, and had never spoken more than 3 words to Isaac in 12 years. "I bring food," she said simply. "For boy. For you." Isaac blinked. "Mrs. Chen, you don't have to. I know what it is to lose everything. War, take everything." She pushed the container into his hands. "Dumplings, still warm. You feed child, is good, is right. Some people forget that." She left before Isaac could respond. 10 minutes later, another car pulled up. Then another. People from town, bringing food, supplies. Quiet acts of defiance against the men with guns telling them to stay away. Beck watched from his driveway, rifle lowered, face twisted with conflict. Clara arrived mid-morning, breathless. "My network tried to cut the live feed, said it was a security risk." She grinned. "I quit. Posted everything on independent channels instead. You're viral, Mr. Crow. 15 million views and climbing." "Great," Isaac muttered. "Always wanted to be famous." Around noon, the Kareth ship sent an emissary, a tall, slender alien with scales like brushed copper. She moved with fluid grace, stopping a respectful distance from the porch. "I am Velik," she said through the translator. "Second voice to the Empress. I bring her words." Isaac stepped out, Nerith clinging to his leg. "The Empress offers exchange," Velik continued. "Medical knowledge, terraforming technology, unlimited energy synthesis, for return of Nerith. He's not for sale. Not sale. Gift. Exchange between equals." Isaac looked down at Nerith, who stared up at him with complete trust. The boy had learned the word father somehow. Kept saying it. "Isaac, father." "He's not a bargaining chip," Isaac said. "He needs time. Not a throne, not politics, just time to be a kid." Velik tilted her head, studying Isaac with unreadable eyes. Then quietly, "You are unusual for a human. I'm a farmer who got in over his head. No." She gestured at the military cordon, the ships overhead, the watching world. "You are the human who stood against 2 empires with nothing but conviction. That is not overhead. That is courage my people would write songs about." She departed, leaving Isaac feeling distinctly uncomfortable with the word courage. That night, everything went to hell. Beck's militia tried to storm the farm. 8 men, armed, convinced they were saving humanity from itself. They cut through the back fence, where military coverage was thinnest. Nereth sensed them first. His scales flickered, patterns forming in bioluminescent waves. A warning. Isaac grabbed his rifle just as the first man burst through the kitchen door. "Get away from that thing, Crow. Get out of my house. You're a traitor to your species." Then Beck was there, shoving his way through, face red, eyes wild. "My brother died because of them. Your son died because of them. How can you—" "Your brother died because of us," Isaac roared. "Read the goddamn documents, Beck. We killed them. Our missiles, our targeting error, our cover-up." Beck froze. "It's all there," Isaac continued, voice breaking. 15 years I hated them. 15 years wasted on a lie. I'm not wasting one more second." In the chaos, no one noticed Nereth move, not until the boy stood in front of Isaac, small body tense, scales flickering with patterns that Isaac was starting to recognize. Defense. Nereth spread his arms wide, placing himself between Isaac and the guns. The gesture was unmistakable. "You'll have to go through me first." An 8-year-old alien child, weaponless and terrified, protecting a human farmer who'd fed him soup. Beck's rifle lowered. "Jesus," he whispered. "It's just a kid." "Yeah," Isaac said. "It is." The militia retreated, confused and shaken. Beck remained, staring at the documents Clara had given him, hands trembling. "They lied to us," he said finally. "All this time. Yeah, I wanted to kill you tonight. Wanted to end this." "I know. That boy just tried to save you. From me." Isaac put a hand on Beck's shoulder. "Kids see things clearer than we do sometimes." After Beck left, Isaac found Nereth crying silently in the corner. The boy was shaking, scales dull with exhaustion. "Hey," Isaac said gently, kneeling. "Hey, you're safe. They're gone."
"Isaac, father,"
Nereth whispered. "No. Leave? I'm not going anywhere, kid." Nereth threw his arms around Isaac's neck and held on like drowning. Isaac held him back, feeling the small heartbeat against his chest, and thought about his son, about all the moments he'd never have, about second chances that come in unexpected packages. "You're safe," he murmured. "I promise." Outside, a government car pulled up. The colonel stepped out with new orders, and 12 hours remained on the deadline. But inside a farmhouse in Nebraska, an old farmer and an alien child had built something stronger than armies. They built family, and family doesn't surrender. Clara burst through the door at dawn, laptop in hand, face ashen. "I found it," she said. "The complete Helion files, unredacted. Someone leaked them." Isaac set down his coffee, stomach already sinking. She turned the screen. Video footage. Helmet cam from a soldier on the ground. Date stamped 15 years, 2 months, 14 days ago. The day Isaac's son died. "You don't have to watch," Clara said quietly. "Yes," Isaac said. "I do." The video played. Chaos, smoke, soldiers running through rubble. The soldier wearing the camera turned, and Isaac saw them. Kareth civilians, dozens of them, children, elderly, wounded, huddling in what looked like an aid station, a human medical tent. "They were evacuating civilians," Clara said. "Joint operation, secret peace talks. Your son was part of the security detail protecting Kareth families." The video continued. A Kareth ship descended, not firing, landing. Then the sky lit up. Human missiles, launched from the USS Constellation. The world exploded in white fire. When the footage stabilized, the soldier panned across the devastation. Bodies, human and Kareth together. And there, at the edge of the frame, a young man in uniform. Isaac's breath stopped. His son, face down in the ash. Next to him, a Kareth child, maybe 5 years old. The boy's hand was clasped in his son's. They'd died together. "Turn it off," Isaac whispered. Clara did. The silence was overwhelming. Command panicked, Clara said. Thought the Kareth ship was an attack. Fired without confirming, killed 87 humans, 212 Kareth, all civilians, all under white flag. And they covered it up. Blamed it on a Kareth bombing run that never happened. Court-martialed the targeting officer in secret, paid off families, classified everything. Isaac stood on shaking legs, walked to the mantel where his son's medals sat in a glass case. 15 years he'd stared at those medals and felt pride mixed with rage. Pride at sacrifice, rage at the enemy who took him, all of it built on a lie. "There's more," Clara said. "The Empress, she was there, leading the evacuation. Nerith was with her." Isaac turned slowly. Nerith saw it happen, saw the missiles come down. He was in his mother's arms when the world ended. Clara pulled up another file. Psychological evaluation. Kareth medical records. That's why he was lost. The blast threw him clear. She spent 3 days searching through rubble before they forced her to retreat. She never stopped looking. Isaac looked at Nerith, still sleeping in the quilt, and something inside him broke. This child had watched his mother try to save human children, had watched humans kill their own, had spent 3 days lost and terrified in the ruins of a massacre caused by the people who were supposed to protect him. And when he finally found safety, he found it with the species that killed his friends. "I need to talk to the Empress," Isaac said. Clara nodded and made the call. 20 minutes later, the Kareth flagship's ramp descended. The Empress walked across the field alone, her ceremonial robes replaced with simple gray fabric. She looked smaller somehow, more vulnerable. Isaac met her halfway. "I know what happened at Helion," he said. Her eyes closed. "Then you know why I do not blame your species. We were so close to peace, so close. My son was there, protecting your people." "I remember him." Her voice cracked. Brown hair, kind eyes. He held a child's hand while the sky fell. "When I found him, I tried to move him, to bring him home to you, but we were forced to retreat." Isaac's vision blurred. "You tried to bring him back? He died protecting my people. That deserved honor." They stood in silence, 2 parents grieving children they'd lost to the same senseless violence. "The attack was ordered by a faction," the Empress said finally. "Humans who wanted the war to continue. Profit in conflict, power in chaos. They sabotaged the peace talks." "I know. We have proof now." "Then you know your son died trying to stop them. He knew what they planned, tried to warn us. That's why he was there." Isaac sank to his knees. His son hadn't just died. He'd died fighting for peace. "I hated you," Isaac whispered. "For 15 years, I hated you." "As I hated your kind," she replied, "until a farmer fed my son soup and showed me that individuals matter more than species." Behind them, vehicles approached, military, moving fast. Clara shouted, "Isaac, they're moving up the timeline. They're coming for Nerith now." The colonel's voice crackled over a loudspeaker. "This is your final warning. Turn over the Kareth asset, or we will take him by force. You have 5 minutes to comply." Isaac stood, looked at the Empress. "If I don't give him up, they'll storm the house. If you do give him up, my fleet will intervene." Her voice was steady, but her eyes held anguish. "And the war begins again. Either way, people die." Yes, Isaac looked back at his house, at the window where Nerith had drawn his memories in condensation, at the home that had been empty for so long and now held something precious. He thought of his son, holding a child's hand as missiles fell. "No," Isaac said. "There's a third option." "What option?" "The one where I'm too stubborn to let either of you start shooting." He started walking toward the house. "And you're going to have to trust me." "Trust a human?" Isaac glanced back. "My son died trusting you. Seems only fair I return the favor." He went inside, gently woke Nerith, and lifted him into his arms. "We're going for a walk, kid." Nerith looked up with sleepy trust. "Is ach father brave?" Isaac swallowed hard. "We're about to find out." He carried Nerith outside. The military had formed a line, weapons raised. Behind them, the Karath fleet powered up weapon systems, and between them, a farmer from Nebraska carried a child toward impossible odds. Because sometimes, the most human thing you can do is refuse to accept the only options you're given. Sometimes, you make a third one, even if it kills you. The world held its breath. Isaac walked steadily, Nerith on his shoulders toward the line of armed soldiers. Behind him, the Empress had returned to her ship, but he could feel her watching, waiting to see if humanity would choose peace or pattern. "Mr. Crow, stop right there." The colonel's voice shook slightly. "We have orders." "I know you do," Isaac called back. "I'm not stopping. We will open fire. Then I guess that's what you'll do." Nerith's small hands gripped Isaac's collar. The boy was trembling but silent, learning courage from a man who was mostly running on spite and coffee. 20 feet away, 15, a red laser dot appeared on Isaac's chest. Clara's voice rang out, "The world is watching! If you fire on an unarmed civilian, it's murder, live-streamed murder." The colonel hesitated. In that hesitation, Isaac kept walking, 10 feet. A younger soldier, barely 20, finger on the trigger. Isaac could see the kid's hands shaking, could see him calculating, following orders versus shooting a man holding a child. "Son," Isaac said quietly, "you don't want this on your conscience. Trust me, I've carried enough regret for both of us." The soldier's rifle lowered an inch. The colonel snapped, "Hold position." Then Beck was there. Somehow, impossibly, Beck stepped between Isaac and the firing line, rifle aimed not at Isaac, but at his own people. "Nobody shoots today," Beck said. "Sergeant Beck, stand down." "I spent 15 years hating the wrong enemy, sir. I'm not spending one more minute on the wrong side of history." Behind Beck, other townspeople appeared. Mrs. Chen, Old Man Peterson, the hardware store clerk, a dozen others forming a human barrier. "You want to get to him," Beck said. "You go through all of us." The colonel's face went crimson. "This is treason!" "This is Nebraska," Beck shot back. "We don't shoot our neighbors." Isaac reached the line, passed through it, kept walking toward the center of the field, toward the impossible middle ground between two armies. That's when Nerith spoke. "Isaac father," the boy whispered. "I go, you safe." Isaac stopped, looked up at the child on his shoulders, saw tears streaming down the small face. "No, son, we don't give up family. Not ever. That's what makes us human." Nerith's voice broke. I love Isaac father." The words hit Isaac like artillery. 3 words in broken English from a child who'd learned human language through television, static, and desperation. "I love you too, kid," Isaac said, voice rough. "More than I thought I could love anything ever again." Nerith buried his face in Isaac's hair and held on. The Empress's ship descended, not aggressively, gracefully. It settled between Isaac and the military line, and the Empress emerged. She walked to Isaac, looked up at her son, looked at the human who'd become his father. "You would die for him," she said. It wasn't a question. "Already lost one son," Isaac replied. "Not losing another, not to bureaucracy, not to politics, not to anyone." "Even if refusing means war?" Isaac met her eyes. Even then, for a long moment nothing moved. The world watched. Billions of people on 100 worlds seeing a farmer and an empress negotiate peace with nothing but stubborn love between them. Then Nerith did something no one expected. He reached out, took his mother's hand, took Isaac's hand, and pulled them together until they were both holding him, both holding each other. "No fight," Nerith said. "No die. Please." The Empress's composure cracked. A sound escaped her that transcended translation. Grief, hope, love, that had nearly been extinguished, finding air again. "He chooses both worlds," she said. "Both families." "Lucky him," Isaac replied. A soldier aimed. Isaac heard the safety click off. The Empress moved faster than anything that size should move, placing herself between Isaac and the threat. "You will not fire," she commanded, and though she spoke to a human soldier, her voice carried the weight of absolute authority. "This human has shown more courage than any warrior in my fleet. If you harm him, you declare war not just on Kareth, but on honor itself." The soldier froze. Behind the military line, something unprecedented happened. Soldiers lowered their weapons. Not all, but enough. One by one they stood down, refusing orders, choosing conscience over protocol. "This is mutiny," the colonel screamed. "This is mercy, sir," said the young soldier who'd nearly shot Isaac. "And I think we've forgotten what that looks like." Clara's voice cut through the chaos, broadcasting to the world. "Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching history. Not because of treaties or politics, but because a farmer from Nebraska taught two species what family actually means." The colonel reached for his sidearm. Beck moved faster. The two men stood nose to nose, both armed, both desperate, both having already lost too much to war. "Don't," Beck said quietly. "Please don't make me choose between my uniform and my humanity." The colonel's hand trembled on his weapon. Then, from somewhere in the back ranks, a soldier began to clap. Slow, deliberate. Another joined, then another. The applause spread, not cheering, not celebration, just acknowledgement. Respect for courage displayed by people who had every reason to choose hate and instead chose something harder. The colonel's hand fell. "Stand down," he whispered. Then louder, "All units, stand down." The weapons lowered. The Kareth fleet powered down their weapon systems, and in the center of a cornfield in Nebraska, a farmer, an empress, and a child stood together. The world exhaled. Isaac sank to his knees, suddenly aware of how close he'd come to dying. Nereth scrambled down, hugging him fiercely. "Brave," Nereth whispered. "So brave." "Nah," Isaac managed. "Just stubborn. It's a human thing." The Empress knelt beside them. For the first time she smiled. It was a strange expression on alien features, but unmistakable. "Perhaps stubbornness is what this universe needs," she said. "Enough to stand against impossible odds for something worth protecting." Isaac looked at Nereth, at the Empress, at Beck and Clara, and the unlikely assembly of humans who'd chosen conscience over orders. "Yeah," he said, "maybe it is." And somewhere, his son was probably laughing at the absurdity of it all. Peace negotiated over scrambled eggs, war ended by stubbornness, and a family built from the wreckage of loss. Humanity, fuck yeah. The standoff didn't end with applause. It ended with politicians on 7 continents screaming into phones, demanding explanations for why their soldiers refused to shoot. It ended with emergency sessions in the UN, with Kareth High Command demanding answers from an empress who'd placed herself between a human and harm. But most importantly, it ended with a conversation on Isaac's porch. The empress sat in a rocking chair that looked comically small beneath her frame. Isaac leaned against the railing. Between them, Nereth played with Isaac's old dog tags, making them spin and catch the light. "Your people will demand accountability," the Empress said. "So will yours. What do you propose?" Isaac was quiet for a moment. Then, "Kid needs both worlds. Needs to understand where he came from and where he's going. Can't do that stuck in one place. You suggest he travel between us. I suggest he stays where he wants, when he wants. Earth or your empire. No politics, no demands. Just a kid getting to know both families." The Empress regarded him thoughtfully. "You would allow him to leave? After fighting so hard to keep him. Then loving someone means letting them choose their own path, even if it hurts." She was silent for a long time. Then, "You understand parenthood better than most of my court." I had a good teacher, even if I only got 18 years with him. Nerith looked up, sensing the somber tone. He crawled into Isaac's lap, then reached for his mother's hand, pulling them close. Family, he said. The word was clear now, practiced. All family. Clara arrived with more news. The leaked Helion files are everywhere. Military's trying damage control, but it's too late. People are demanding answers, demanding trials. Good, Isaac said. Lies don't heal. Truth does, even when it hurts. Over the next 3 days, something unprecedented happened. The military cordon became a gathering place. Humans and Kareth, not fighting, but talking. Trading stories, sharing food. A Kareth engineer taught a human mechanic about plasma coils. A human farmer showed Kareth agriculturalists crop rotation techniques. Beck spent 6 hours in the Kareth flagship, looking at photos of their war dead. When he emerged, his face was streaked with tears. They lost children too, he said to Isaac. Showed me pictures, names, dreams that died. All these years I thought we were the only ones bleeding. Pain isn't a competition, Isaac replied. It's a common language. Mrs. Chen brought enough dumplings to feed both camps. The Kareth had no idea what to make of them until Nerith demonstrated. The resulting enthusiasm was both adorable and slightly concerning. Maybe diplomacy just needed better food, Clara laughed, filming a Kareth soldier attempt chopsticks for the first time. On the 4th day, both governments sent official delegations, the U.S. Secretary of State, the Kareth Council of Elders, treaties to negotiate, terms to establish, the formal machinery of diplomacy grinding into motion. They expected to meet in conference rooms, neutral territory, formal protocols. Isaac met them on his porch with coffee and sandwiches. "We're doing this here?" the secretary asked. "Seems appropriate," Isaac replied. "Started here, might as well finish here." The negotiation lasted 6 hours. Isaac mostly stayed out of it, letting trained diplomats do their work. But when they got stuck on territorial disputes and reparations, he interrupted. "You're making this too complicated," he said. "Kid needs 2 homes, both safe, both welcoming. Build from there." "It's not that simple," the secretary protested. "Sure it is. You're just making it harder because you're used to fighting." Isaac set down his coffee. "My son died trying to build a bridge, died holding a Kareth child's hand. I'm standing on that bridge now, and I'm telling you both, it's strong enough. Stop testing it and just walk across." The Empress leaned forward. "You propose the Treaty of Mill Creek, named for this place, founded on the principle that children deserve better than the wars their parents fought." "Yeah," Isaac said, "something like that." The secretary looked at him for a long moment, then surprisingly smiled. "Mr. Crow, you're either the wisest or the most naive man I've ever met." "Probably both," Isaac admitted. They signed preliminary agreements as the sun set. Not a full treaty. That would take months. But a framework, a promise, a commitment to try. The Kareth called it the Crow Accords. Isaac called it just trying not to screw things up worse. That night, Nerith approached Isaac with something in his hands, one of the symbols he'd drawn, the circular one with radiating lines. "What's that mean?" Isaac asked. Nerith placed the drawing over Isaac's heart, then over his own. Kareth word, mean. Chosen family, family not blood, family heart. Isaac's throat tightened. "Yeah. Kid. That's exactly what it means." Nerith smiled, scales flickering in patterns that Isaac now recognized as joy. "Isaac, father, teach. Home is where heart chooses." "Who taught you that?" "You. Every day. You teach." Isaac pulled him close, this small alien child who'd wandered into his cellar and changed the galaxy. "You know what? I think you taught me more. Outside, ships from both species prepared to depart. Not in battle formation, in cooperation, planning exchange programs, cultural missions, agricultural partnerships. Beck stood in the yard looking up at the stars. Clara joined him. "Think it'll last?" he asked. "I think it has to," she replied, "because if a stubborn old farmer can make it work, what's our excuse?" Beck laughed. Actually laughed. Fair point. Isaac watched from the porch, Nerith drowsy against his shoulder. "You want to know what makes us human?" he said quietly, to no one in particular, to everyone. "It's feeding the hungry, even if they got sharp teeth. It's choosing love when hate is easier. It's being so damn stubborn about doing right that the universe has to bend around you. That's what we are. That's what we've always been. We just forgot for a while." Nerith mumbled something in Kareth. "What's he saying?" Clara asked, camera finally off, just listening. "He says Isaac Father talks too much," the Empress translated, appearing from the shadows. "He also says Isaac Father is correct." "Wisdom from children," Isaac said. "Should have led with that years ago." The Empress settled on the step. "I came to ask, when Nerith travels to Kareth space, will you visit? Not as diplomat, as family." Isaac blinked. "You're inviting me to dinner, to meet his grandmother, to see the place he will someday rule." She paused. "And to teach us what honor truly looks like, because clearly we forgot. I'm just a farmer." "No," she said firmly. "You are the human who stood against armies with nothing but love. That is power beyond any weapon." Isaac looked at Nerith, sleeping peacefully, at Beck and Clara, laughing in the yard, at soldiers from two species sharing coffee and war stories. "All right," he said, "but I'm bringing my own coffee. No offense, but whatever you folks drink probably tastes like engine oil." The Empress actually laughed, and in that moment peace wasn't a treaty. It was family sitting on a porch, sharing stories, sharing hope, teaching the universe that sometimes the most revolutionary act is simply refusing to hate. 3 months later, Mill Creek became the capital of something it never asked to be. Hope. The formal treaty signing drew representatives from 47 human nations and 12 Kareth systems. They set up pavilions in Isaac's ruined cornfield where the Empress's ship had first landed. Where everything changed. Isaac hated every minute of the attention. "I just wanted to farm corn," he muttered, adjusting the tie someone had forced on him. It felt like a noose. "Too late," Clara said, adjusting her own formal clothes. She'd been hired as official documentarian, turning down 3 major networks to remain independent. "You're a symbol now. Deal with it." "I'm a farmer." "You're both." The ceremony was scheduled for noon. By 10, the field was packed. Journalists, diplomats, curious citizens who'd traveled across continents to witness history. Nerith moved through the crowd like a small diplomat, greeting humans with handshakes he'd perfected, greeting Kareth with traditional gestures. He wore a simple tunic, half human fashion, half Kareth formal wear, a living bridge between worlds. "He's good at this," Beck observed. The ex-sergeant had been appointed liaison between human and Kareth agricultural programs. Turned out he had a gift for teaching. Better than most politicians. "He learned from watching," Isaac said. "Kids do that. Take the best of what they see. And ignore the worst. Wish more adults did that." The signing table was set beneath an oak tree Isaac's grandfather had planted. Symbolic, the diplomat said. Deep roots, new growth. Isaac thought it was just a tree, but he kept that opinion to himself. The Empress arrived with her delegation. She'd become more comfortable around humans, though she still moved with regal precision. She saw Isaac and nodded, something like friendship in her eyes. "Ready?" she asked. "To sign papers and shake hands?" "Sure. To have my face on every news channel in known space?" "Not so much." "You chose this path. I chose to feed a hungry kid. Universe did the rest." The ceremony began with speeches, long ones, boring ones. Isaac zoned out, watching Nerith teach a human child and a Kareth youngling how to play tic-tac-toe in the dirt. That was the real treaty, he thought. Kids who didn't know they were supposed to hate each other. When it came time to sign, Isaac approached the table with reluctance. His name looked strange in formal script. Isaac Crow, special witness to the Treaty of Mill Creek. He signed quickly, wanting it done, but then the Empress did something unexpected. She produced a second document, Kareth's script, flowing and beautiful. "This," she announced to the assembled crowd, "is the proclamation of chosen family. In Kareth culture, blood bonds can be superseded by bonds of choice. Bonds formed through sacrifice, courage, and love." She turned to Isaac. "Isaac Crow, you saved my son when you had every reason to let him die. You protected him at risk to yourself. You taught him what honor looks like when both our species had forgotten. In doing so, you earned a place in our family not by birth, but by choice." Isaac blinked. "I'm not sure what—" "I am formally adopting you into the Imperial line," she said. "You are Kareth kin now, family, with all rights and protections that entails." The crowd erupted, cameras flashed, diplomats whispered frantically into phones. Isaac just stared. "You're making me royalty?" "I am making you family," she corrected. "Slightly different," Nerith bounced excitedly. "Isaac father, now Isaac grandsire, I teach you proper dance." "I'm not dancing," Isaac said automatically. "You will," the Empress replied with something dangerously close to amusement. "Family dances at festivals. It is tradition." Beck was laughing so hard he had to sit down. Clara was filming everything with tears streaming down her face. "This is insane," Isaac said. "This is perfect," Clara countered. The rest of the ceremony passed in a blur. More speeches, more signatures, the establishment of joint colonies, with the first one to be built in Nebraska, combining human agricultural techniques with Kareth environmental technology. They named it Helion Fields, turning the place of worst tragedy into symbol of hope. When the formal events ended, people lingered. Human and Kareth, mingling naturally now. Someone brought out food. Someone else brought music. The formal treaty signing devolved into something like a celebration. Isaac found himself teaching the Empress how to make proper coffee. "This is, bitter," she observed. "It's perfect," Isaac corrected. "You'll develop a taste for it, and you will develop a taste for star-grain tea." "Doubt it." "Family tries," she said simply. Nerith appeared with 2 children in tow. One human, one Kareth, both covered in dirt and joy. "Isaac father, we found frogs. Want to see?" "Later, kid. Adults are having important conversations." "About coffee?" "Exactly." The children ran off, laughing in that universal language that needed no translation. As the sun set, painting the Nebraska sky in shades of amber and gold, Isaac stood at the edge of the gathering. Beck joined him, 2 beers in hand. "Never thought I'd see the day," Beck said, offering 1 bottle. "What day?" "The day we stopped fighting." Isaac took the beer. "We're not stopped, just pointed in a better direction. Because of you." Because of a kid who was hungry and a universe that got tired of watching us kill each other. They drank in comfortable silence. Clara approached, camera finally put away. "I've been offered a book deal. Want to help write it?" "I don't write books," Isaac said. "You lived one. I'll do the writing. You just tell me the truth." "Truth is, I'm a farmer who got lucky. Truth is," Clara corrected, "you're a man who chose compassion when vengeance would have been easier. That's not luck, that's character." Isaac didn't have an answer for that. As night fell, the celebration continued. Music drifted across the field, human instruments and Kareth harmonics finding unexpected synchronicity. Nerith fell asleep against Isaac's leg, exhausted from excitement. The Empress settled nearby. "He will need to visit Kareth Space soon, meet the court, begin his education." "Will he come back?" "Always. This is his home, too." "Good," Isaac said, "because I'm not done teaching him to fish." She smiled. "And he is not done teaching you to dance." I'm still not dancing. We will see. Isaac looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there, his son's ship had fought, had died. But also somewhere up there, new ships flew, carrying hope instead of weapons, messages instead of missiles. Hey, kiddo, Isaac whispered to the night. I think I finally finished what you started. Took me long enough. The wind carried the words away, and somewhere, maybe, a young soldier smiled, because his father had learned what he'd known all along. That courage isn't about who you fight, it's about who you save, and why you choose to save them, even when the universe says you shouldn't, especially then, 10 years later. Isaac woke to the smell of bread baking and the sound of laughter in his kitchen. He shuffled out of bed, joints protesting a little more each year, and found organized chaos waiting for him. Nerith, now a lanky teenager with scales that shifted colors with his moods, was attempting to teach two younger Kareth how to flip pancakes. The results were mixed. Batter on the ceiling, mixed. "Morning, Grandpa Isaac," Nerith said, grinning. His English was flawless now, though he still spoke with an accent that was uniquely his own, part Nebraska drawl, part Kareth melody. "Morning, kid. Why's my kitchen look like a war zone?" "Cultural exchange program. I'm teaching them Earth breakfast." The two younglings waved enthusiastically. One of them had batter in her earfins. Isaac poured coffee and watched the chaos with something like contentment. The farm had changed. Half of it still grew corn, traditional methods that Isaac refused to update. The other half hosted a Kareth environmental lab, their technology turning Nebraska dirt into something that could grow crops impossible a decade ago. Best of both worlds, literally. The kitchen door opened, and Clara walked in, older now, hair streaked with gray, but eyes still sharp. She'd never left Mill Creek, turning down correspondent positions in favor of teaching journalism at the new interspecies university. "Came for the pancakes, stayed for the disaster," she said, grabbing a plate. "That's my motto for life," Isaac replied. Beck arrived next, leading a tour group of human farmers and Kareth agriculturalists. The exchange program he'd started now operated on 30 worlds. He'd written 3 books on sustainable farming and somehow become a respected expert despite never finishing high school. Life was strange that way. By mid-morning, the farm was bustling. It had become a pilgrimage site of sorts. People came from across the galaxy to see where it started, the place where one stubborn farmer changed everything. Isaac hated the attention, but tolerated it for Nerith's sake. The boy, now preparing to assume his role as heir, needed to understand both his legacy and his responsibility. Around noon, a ship landed. Not military, private vessel, expensive. The Empress emerged, dressed casually in human clothes that still somehow looked regal. She visited often now, treating Isaac's farm like a second home. "Grandmother!" Nerith called, running to embrace her. She held him close, scales flickering with affection, then approached Isaac. "Still making terrible coffee, I see," she observed. "Still drinking it anyway, I notice," Isaac countered. They'd developed an easy friendship over the years, built on shared grief, shared hope, and shared love for a boy who belonged to both worlds. They sat on the porch, same chairs, same view. Everything and nothing changed. "I have news," she said. "The council approved the motion. Humans and Kareth will jointly explore the frontier systems. Together. About time. They wanted separate missions. Safer, they said." "Safer," Isaac scoffed. "Like anything worth doing is safe." "I used your argument, actually. That courage is choosing unity when division is easier. Getting poetic in your old age. I learned from the best." They sat in comfortable silence, watching Nerith teach the younglings how to catch chickens. The chickens were winning. "He's ready," the Empress said quietly. "To lead, to bridge our peoples." "Yeah," Isaac agreed. "He is. You raised him well." "We raised him well," she corrected. "You gave him something I could not. You taught him that strength comes from compassion, that power is meaningless without mercy." Isaac was quiet for a moment. Then, I just taught him to fish and make scrambled eggs. You gave him the important stuff. Isaac, you gave him everything that matters. Before Isaac could respond, a vehicle approached. Expensive. Government plates. A young woman emerged. Mid-20s, sharp eyes, diplomatic credentials. Mr. Crow, I'm Ambassador Chen, Mrs. Chen's granddaughter. Isaac smiled. I remember when you were stealing cookies from my kitchen. I remember you pretending not to notice. She held out a tablet. I have a proposal. We're establishing a new program. Ambassador families. Humans living in Kareth space. Kareth living on Earth. Full cultural immersion. We want you to advise. I'm a farmer. You're a bridge, she corrected, and we need more bridges. Isaac looked at the Empress, who shrugged elegantly. I may have suggested your name. Traitor. Pragmatist, she replied. The universe needs your stubbornness, regularly. Before Isaac could decline, Nerith bounded up. Not alone. He had someone with him, a young Kareth woman, maybe 16, with scales like sunrise. Grandpa Isaac, grandmother, I want you to meet Siasha. She's important to me. The way he said it, the way his scales shifted to soft gold. Oh, Isaac and the Empress exchanged looks. First love, the Empress murmured. God help us, Isaac replied. But he extended his hand to the girl. Welcome to the family, I guess. You like pancakes? She took his hand, grip firm, eyes nervous, but determined. I am honored to meet the Isaac father. Nerith speaks of you constantly. All bad things, I hope. He says you taught him how to be brave. Isaac snorted. I taught him how to be stubborn, not the same thing. Sometimes it is, she replied quietly. Smart kid. Nerith had good taste. That evening, after everyone had left, Isaac found himself alone in the old cellar. The place where he'd first found Nerith, terrified and starving. He'd kept it exactly as it was, bloodstains and all. A reminder, footsteps behind him, Nerith, holding 2 cups of coffee. Knew I'd find you here, the boy said. They sat on the cellar steps, looking at the place where everything changed. I've been thinking, Nerith said. When I take the throne, I want to establish something. An order of some kind. People dedicated to choosing compassion, to making the hard choice to help, even when hate is easier. Sounds ambitious. I want to call it the Order of the Crow, after you. Isaac nearly dropped his coffee. Kid, I'm not. You are, Nerith interrupted firmly. You saved me, saved my mother, saved both our peoples, not with weapons, with bread. That's power, Grandpa. That's the kind of power I want to build an empire on. Isaac's throat tightened. I don't know what to say. Say you'll help. Say you'll teach others what you taught me, that the bravest thing you can do is care when the universe tells you not to. Isaac looked at this boy he'd raised, who wasn't a boy anymore, who'd become something remarkable, something impossible, something human and alien and perfectly himself. All right, Isaac said, but I'm still not dancing at your coronation. We will see about that. They laughed together, sound echoing in the cellar where fear had once lived. Later, much later, Isaac stood in his bedroom. On the dresser, 2 photographs now, his son in military uniform, and Nerith, grinning, covered in dirt from helping plant corn. You'd like him, kiddo, Isaac said to his son's picture. He's stubborn, idealistic, thinks he can change the universe, reminds me of you. Outside, the Nebraska stars shone bright. Up there, ships traveled, humans and Kareth, together, building something new. And down here, an old farmer climbed into bed, exhausted but content. He'd lost one son, found another, and somehow accidentally changed the galaxy. Not with grand gestures or dramatic speeches, with bread, with stubbornness, with the simple, revolutionary act of feeding a hungry child and refusing to let him go. In a universe that only knew power, humanity had won by remembering something older than empires: that every life matters, that every act of kindness echoes, that sometimes the most important thing you can do is simply see someone who's suffering and say, "Not on my watch, not while I'm here, not ever." Isaac closed his eyes and dreamed of cornfields and starships, of sons lost and found, of a future built on the ruins of hate. And somewhere, in the vast indifferent cosmos, the universe itself took note, because while empires rise and fall, while species come and go, while stars burn and planets cool, the simple act of one person choosing kindness echoes forever. That's what makes us human. That's what saves us all. That's the revolution. One meal at a time, one child at a time, one stubborn choice at a time, and the galaxy was better for it. Humanity, fuck yeah, the bread and the air. Together, always. In the end, Isaac Crow didn't save a galaxy with strategy, prophecy, or destiny. He saved it by doing the most defiant thing a human can do. He refused to let a frightened child starve. Sometimes the smallest mercy is the one that bends the whole universe. And maybe that's the quiet truth this story leaves behind. We don't build peace through power. We build it through stubborn kindness that refuses to die, even when everything else burns. So now I'll ask you, when was the last time you chose compassion over instinct, even when it didn't make sense? What enemy in your life might look different if you saw the scared child inside their armor? And how many wars, large or small, could end if one person simply said, "Not today, not like this"? If you stayed with Isaac until the very end, type "bread fire" in the comments so I know you walked the whole road with us. Tell me where you're watching from: Earth, Karath space, or somewhere in between. And if this story hits you somewhere unexpected, subscribe, like, hype it up. Share it with someone who needs a reminder that stubborn kindness is still the strongest weapon we've got. I'll see you in the next tale. Just click the video waiting on your screen. The stars are wide, and we're just getting started.